This is the Fantasy Roadshow.
What's up, roadies? How you guys doing out there? Welcome into another episode of the Fantasy Roadshow. We are your hosts. My name is Truck. Over all the way on the right is Kulz, and in the middle we have a recurring guest. By now you should know who this is. This is Shane McCormick. Shane, Kulz, how you guys doing today? Welcome in.
It's Shane O'Mac.
Oh yeah,
Say his name correctly. It's Shane O'Mac.
Yeah, there you go. My mistake.
How are we doing?
Good.
So I don't know. We haven't, I guess, talked talked live really since week one has ended. How are you feeling after week one?
You know, this was surprising. Like I actually went undefeated in my what I consider my six main leagues, which was crazy since I think three of them I had Dobbins in. So I made up enough with the other players and didn't get hit. I was glad. I think every league I was in this year, I went tight end late. And after week one, I was glad I went with that strategy after seeing the wipeout of the elite tight ends.
Yeah, hardly anybody played.
Yeah, I had Dobbins in I think one league and then one that I helped someone draft on. So I usually kind of keep an eye on those, but I am extremely thin at running back in that one Dobbins league too. So I have like fucking Antonio Gibson as my RB2 right now. I was able this morning to pick up on waivers. I got Kyron, Hill, and Moss and was able to just like, please one of these hit for me. So anyways, yeah, that's it. This is I told Ryan one of the last podcasts that we recorded yesterday, and I hate fantasy football. Like every year I get to a point where I'm just like, fuck this. Why do I put in so much? And that came week one for me. Next year, I think I'm doing best ball and dynasty. I'm in a guillotine league that I really like, but I wouldn't be surprised if I cut out every single redraft league. It's just like so frustrating for me. I either want to draft and have like a million drafts like you do in best ball, or I want to do full GM mode instead of like this just pain that redraft gives me every year. So I think, diving in this deep to fantasy has made me realize like what I like, what I don't like, and I'm just going to go with it. I can't do this weekly pain anymore.
Yeah, Mike's been going through this love-hate relationship with fantasy for years now through our relationships, and he's every yeyear it gets closer and closer to the beginning of the season where he's just like, I'm done. This is it. I just can't do it anymore. So.
It was probably 3 years ago. I quit all fantasy football leagues and tried to make the full jump over to DFS. And I was like, redraft leagues taints my brain it creates a bias, taints my brain for DFS. So I love fantasy football. I love drafting more than anything, but I just, some of it drives me so crazy and some of it I absolutely love. And for me with redraft, like, your return on time investment is low and there's so much pain involved every year for me personally that I'm just like, I need to just take a step back. It makes my blood pressure just go through the roof.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but like to help minimize my frustration during the games on Sunday. So what I do is I never check scores until Sunday night in any of my leagues. Like, I just want to like sit there in ignorant bliss, I guess, and think I'm still in games and everything. And I won't check until Sunday night.
See, I try that, and then as I'm watching the games unfold and I see that their stats being reported, and I'm just doing the math in my head. I'm like, okay, he's got 13.5 points. Okay, shit, I wonder what I have. So you just constantly, the numbers are ticking in my head. So pointless.
So I like to know what's going on too. I do. For me, it's more just like, and honestly, I had a pretty good week fantasy wise. Like, I think I don't know. I'm in 11 leagues, I want to say, and I think I only lost a couple, but it's still just like little things that drive me crazy. I don't even know what I'm like from this week, for example. I don't know if there's one glaring thing that sticks out, or if it's just like we're live and we're going, and like whether it's in anticipation or maybe Ron and I are in a league where we by far is the best roster, and then just like losing those matchups are so frustrating. Super flex league with Joe Burrow, Daniel Jones, and then just an absolutely stacked roster. And then of course, Burrow and Jones pick up the week they do. It's just whatever. But anyways, let's get into red light, green light. This is a segment. This is an episode that I had like a ton of fun with. To be honest, like looking back at week one of the most fun I had just across the board was doing this episode, was typing up the Substack, watching our picks and how that developed throughout the week. So I'm actually interested to hear both of your guys' opinions and perspectives on how you think this is going and how your week went there.
Yeah, I agree, Mike. This episode was definitely a highlight of the week, and I think it's one of the most important episodes too. Giving all this information that we think, red lights and green lights. And if you look at, we had a pretty successful hit rate last week. If you were paying attention, following, I know Shane hit all of his red lights. I think I missed on a couple here and there, but for the most part, across the board, I think we did really well.
Yeah, and I think for me, it was almost like a separate little fantasy team. Like I found myself following my green light guys, my red light guys, like they were on a fantasy team for me and rooting for them.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
Exactly. I think that has a lot to do with it, and there wasn't the pain of like getting fucked over by some fantasy bullshit. So yeah, no, I agree. I would like to. I mean, that was our first episode, right, guys? Like. I think one of the reasons I got so excited behind it too is because like we can just spin off. We can make it so much better. We can have spin-off content. Like I'm really excited to see how week 1 looks compared to week 17. I just think we can get better every week of how we deliver the content for everyone. And as Ryan said, like it is so important. People want to know who to start, who to sit. And even like eventually getting bold and like, it was really hard for me to sit Daniel Jones after drafting him. Right. But like taking a bold call, sometimes you got to make those moves. So anyways, let's get into this week 2, and everyone knows what to do. Buckle up.
And I did want to mention, if you're listening on the podcast, stop what you're doing. Check us out on youtube.com/sportsethos. Like and subscribe, please, and thank you. Follow us all on Twitter. You got our tags here in the graphics, and then also the Substack. We have a Substack articles Kulz referenced. This is in written form is going to be displayed and produced. So follow thefantasyroadshow.substack.com and like and subscribe.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, let's dive right in. I think last time we started with red lights. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Let's do that again. Red light, Ryan. Who you got at quarterback?
Dak Prescott. Sorry, Shane O'Mac. I know that the Cowboys did really, really well last week. They won by the widest margin out of any team last week, and they looked dominant. But for me, the Jets also looked really, really dominant, especially against Josh Allen. I know Josh Allen made some mistakes, and he kind of has a tendency of doing that. But, some would say that Dak Prescott does as well from last season. So I'm kind of staying away from Dak Prescott against the Jets. That Jets defense looked top tier to me. And that's just kind of, I don't know, Shane, do you have any sort of hesitancy about starting Dak Prescott against the Jets?
Yeah, he's a bench for me. I think just, you said the Jets defense number one, and I think just number two, like they're not going to need to do a lot Sunday against a Zach Wilson led offense for the Jets. Like they just got to kind of do what they did on Sunday night, and that is kind of play conservative, don't turn the ball over. I could easily see a similar game as he had last week where it's under 200 yards passing, and it's just doing enough to not make mistakes and put Zach Wilson and the Jets, in bad situations against that Cowboys defense.
Hey, do not knock Zach Wilson like that. This is not the Zach Wilson you saw this year. This Zach Wilson is a year older. He's got Aaron Rodgers by his side. He's going to have offensive coordinator Rodgers in his ear all season. I agree. Like that Jets defense is incredible. Exactly to Shane's point, I don't think they're going to have to do a lot to win that game. That being said, like the Jets are still going to kind of be a problem. Like that is the same Zach Wilson, but he has Brees and Dalvin Cook now. Like if that OC wants to get creative, and it's going to be hard to say what exactly they're going to do on offense that's different, but you have two stars in the backfield. You have one of the best defenses in the league, and you have some playmakers like that you can get the ball early in Wilson. I don't know. I just feel like the Jets are still going to win games. Obviously not to the extent with Rodgers, but please just like for the sake of the NFL, still be competitive.
I think they will. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people offensively this season.
Yeah, and obviously their ceiling isn't as high. I don't think it's Super Bowl anymore, but like I just love the game so much that to see one of the Super Bowl contenders week one just get completely erased is like it's so painful for me. So I don't know. I agree though. That defense is going to be a serious problem all year long.
Yeah. Shane, what do you got?
So I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins. So, he ended up with a decent fantasy game last week, but he still had 3 turnovers against the Buccaneers. But I'm just looking at that, last year he went into Philadelphia and did not have a good game against that defense. I think he ended up QB 25 for the week last year at Philly. I really think it's going to be a similar type of game where they force him into some turnovers. They generate a lot of sacks, and I think it's a lower performance for him this week, and they struggle to put up points at Philly.
Yeah, that's so funny. So Kirk Cousins, the only reason he's not on my red light list is because I have just about every other Viking, and I didn't want you guys know, you've heard me how I feel about the Vikings and like them losing to the Bucks. I wrote it in an article on Sports Ethos 2 in the preview. I'm like, this is sneaky a must-win game for the Vikings.
Oh, 100%.
Because of how difficult the next 3 home games, Chargers, Chiefs, Niners, and then of course you're going to Philly in this game. So like to me, them losing that game, they're going to be 0-3. They're going to lose here to the Eagles. They're going to lose at home to the Chargers. This game is going to be a serious problem for the Vikings, not only because I don't think they're very good, but you had an Eagles team that was going to be in a dogfight going to New England and facing a team where Bill Belichick had since the schedule was released, he had the entire time to prepare his defense for a team that had even added games in the Super Bowl last year. So that was always going to be a very tough game for the Eagles. Well, now you're going back home. They're going to be at the Link, and they're just going to be ready to destroy the Vikings, and that is just such a bad spot for them. Yeah. So bad spot for the Vikings. You know how good that Eagles defense is going to be this year. That line is just nasty. So I think it's going to be a really tough night for Kirk. I think it's going to be a horrible night for Alexander Madison, who showed that he is who he thought he was last week, or at least that who I thought he was. I know, Shane, you had some high hopes for Madison, but this is going to be a bad game for him. He'll be on my red light at running back. But, anyways, Ryan, did you have another? Did you just have
Well, no, I wanted to chime in about Kirk Cousins. Like he was in consideration for me on my list of red lights. But what I saw from last week from Mac Jones putting up 300 yards and 3 touchdowns on that Philly defense, I know it was at home in Foxborough, but still, Mac Jones putting 300 yards and 3 touchdowns on that Philly defense was like, oh, okay, well, Kirk Cousins almost had 300 yards in that first half. Like, he was slinging the ball last week. If we're looking at this as a Vikings must win, like the Vikings are looking at this like, hey, we just lost in Tampa Bay. We cannot go 0-2 in this season. And they're going to come out very ferociously. But I do think the Eagles still win, but it just kind of gives me a little pushback that Mac Jones was able to put up a decent game, over 24 fantasy points on that Eagles defense. So that was my pushback.
You're getting on me about Zach Wilson, Shane. Don't throw that shade at Alabama Mac.
Yeah, no, sorry, Rye. Week 1 at home against the Bucs is not a short week. At Eagles, it's going to be bad. They're just not good. I think that game's going to be an ugly Thursday night blowout. Eagles are going to just do that thing where they start hot, get up big early, and then just kind of coast in the second half. We'll all be able to go to sleep at halftime, and we'll appreciate that. Kind of like Shane's Cowboys and Giants. I was dog shit tired on Sunday evening and was able to, confidently turn it off and sleep like a baby. So I expect that same thing here tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Who
do you got, Mike?
I was very tempted to put Kirk on here. Another team that I think is in a really bad spot, who I do have on here, quarterback that I think I had last week, Jimmy G. Raiders at Bills. Bills have to be disappointed, but going home, I think there's going to be an absolute fire behind them. I think Josh Allen has an outstanding game. I think they pretty much dominate. Spread right now is 8.5. I saw it was up to like 9.5. Shane, I know you're doing a preview there. I would jump all over the 8.5 while it still exists. I bet you that goes back to the 9.5. But yeah, I think Jimmy G, he's on my red light list. You're going to hear about Devonta later. I just think it's going to be a tough game for the Raiders. They just won at Denver. Anytime you have to face a team who is as good as the Bills and a team that is going to be fighting for the division, going to be fighting for the number 1 seed in conference, you don't want them after a loss. So I think you're going to see that here. On top of that, I have Sam Howell, who is going to Denver to play who Jimmy G just played. And I just like Denver's defense. I think it's going to take some time for them to figure out Sean Payton's offense. So, they're going to win games against these bad teams. And then Sean Payton, like he does over the course of the year, he figures it out. He's a true NFL professional, and that offense will eventually look like it in the first half. But I expect it to be a tough game for Howell, the Commanders. I don't think that offense is really as good as we thought it was going to be in preseason. And quite frankly, I think the Commanders are going to be very bad this year.
Yeah, I like that.
Those are my two quarterbacks.
I mean, we saw Howell struggle a little bit last week against the Cardinals.
It's tough.
That's tough. So, yeah, I don't have any sort of confidence of playing him this week. So, I completely agree with you there. This one pains me, okay? This one hurts me to say, and I hope I'm wrong. This is one that I hope I get wrong 10 out of 10 times. But I'm not starting Justin Fields in Tampa Bay. Okay?
Use the accent.
Yeah. Listen. Justin Fields, what he did on Sunday against the Packers, absolute embarrassment. Absolute fucking embarrassment. I'm just done with it. I have no sort of confidence. The play calling was shit. His progression was shit. The defense was shit. I'm worried. Okay, I'm really fucking worried. I have a league currently with Justin Fields as my starting quarterback. What did I do? I picked up Jordan Love. on the waivers, and I think I might actually be starting Jordan Love over Justin Fields this week. And I want to go puke right now. I'm sick to my stomach about it. And until I see Justin Fields do something that is worthwhile with the Chicago Bears offense, I just don't want him in my starting lineup. Sure, I hope I'm wrong. I could be wrong here. He could go out there and run for 150 yards and have a great week. I want that to happen, but I'm worried. Okay.
Please do not start Jordan Love this week over Fields. Please don't do that.
Full tilt mode.
Yeah, don't do that. Please.
I'm panicking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do not make that decision. I genuinely think the Bears can go into Tampa and win. I think they have a lot to prove after how horrible it was in Green Bay or at home against Green Bay. It's very concerning seeing the way that Fields, granted the play calling, he is a downfield thrower and you didn't see much of that. DJ Moore was shadowed by Alexander, which is typically not a good situation for any wide receiver. Things have to open up. You can't be a professional sports organization, have that disaster of an opening week, and then be like, what the fuck's going on here? Open up the playbook. I can't imagine that happens again. I think you have to start taking shots. The concerning part for me was Fields just doesn't look comfortable in the pocket or going through reads. So if they open up the playbook and you see more of that, I would be concerned. But the Bucs are not a good football team. I mean, their defense is okay, but they were getting torched last year. I'm not sold on the Bucs as a contender in that division. So this is a very winnable game for the Bears. They need it. And then on the flip side, Packers going into Atlanta is going to be a tough game. Atlanta is a lot tougher than people think, and Arthur Smith's a great coach and is going to have a great game plan that just has long, draining drives, But that's my thought on Fields. What do you think, Shane?
Yeah, I agree. I'd still start him also because you got to think with that Green Bay game, there's a good chance they're going to be without Aaron Jones this week.
Yeah.
So that is a
Dylan looks bad.
Yeah, he's a tremendous receiving threat out of the backfield. A.J. Dillon is not that.
No, he couldn't do it against the Bears. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's concerning, man. Dylan did not look good. So, yeah, totally agree.
Well, I appreciate you guys talking me off my cliff.
Hey, Bears are going to be 1-1 after this week.
I hope you're right. I really
could be 1-1 after this week. I don't want to say will be.
But. Yes, I want them to win. Okay, I think there is a good chance they could win, but just from what I saw, I have little to no confidence.
You have to get that back before Sunday, or you're just so fucked as a city and a fan base and a team, and we need that confidence by Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I'll try to go.
What did I tell you after that game? I said 4 weeks. Give them 4 weeks.
Yeah, I know.
See what kind of a football team you have after 4 weeks, and then be depressed and try to tank for Caleb.
Yeah.
It has to be 4 weeks.
Yeah. Shane, what do you got?
Okay, you ready for a shocker here?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right.
Shocker,
I am going to go with Tua this week, traveling to New England in a night game. So a couple things. Couple things. One, Bill Belichick is not going to be a complete moron and just do man-to-man single coverage on Tyreek Hill the whole game like the freaking idiot Chargers did the whole time. He will scheme up a way to minimize the damage so he doesn't go for 200-plus yards.
Yep.
Last year when Tua went into New England, he ended up as QB 22 for the week. It was not a great game in New England. We just saw them limit Hurts and that offense. And I have trust in Bill Belichick being able to scheme up something that at least limits a explosion game.
Yeah, so I almost put him on my list too, honestly. First off, though, I think each episode we need a segment called Shane Shocker. And
Shane Shocker of the Week.
Shane O'Mac Shocker of the Week. So I love
Get to work on that graphic, please.
Yeah,
I'll get it. Yeah,
we're gonna. That's gonna be one of the first T-shirts we make. Shane,
I'm gonna need a picture of you just going like this.
No, we need Shane McMahon with the shocker.
Yeah. Oh, we need the real Shane O'Mac. Okay.
Yeah. So I love that. We're gonna have a Shane O'Mac Shocker of the Week. We may need a guitar riff from your dad. Your dad to
I'll see
intro.
if I can get him to cook something up.
Yeah. I love it. But yeah, so Shane, I was going to put two as well. I love that pick by you. Like just classic regression of the mean. Public's going to be all over the Dolphins. And like the NFL always is, comes back around. So I think you're exactly spot on there. Isn't that game like Sunday night too?
Yep.
Yeah. So, dude, Belichick prime time, making another team that's just Publix all over look ugly. I love that pick. I completely agree.
All right. Well, I think we can move on to green lights. I think we covered enough red lights there. Let's go to quarterback green lights. Kulz, why don't you go ahead and start us off with a quarterback green light that you got on your list?
Yeah. I'm going to just rattle off three. I know Shane and I ended up with the exact same three, so let's just dive into our green lights. Jared Goff, Anthony Richardson, and Daniel Jones. Shane, I don't know if you want to go through and make note of each of those. Mine are more all game script aligned, so if you have some stats to throw at us, let's start there.
Yeah, so just Richardson, just start with Richardson, just like from the eye test, he looked a lot better to me than I was expecting throwing the ball than I ever expected. Like if he's going to get 220 yards plus passing in a game, that he's set up to be a top 5 QB every week. Yeah. Just lock it in. And, they're playing Houston this week, so I expect that to be a close game. So they're going to keep it close, I think. And I think he goes, I don't know what they put up as a rushing prop yet for him, but I would expect more than 40 yards rushing for him this week than what he got. That's what he got last week.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing that almost kept me away from Richardson that I saw that I didn't like is that I think it was all but 2 of his passes were to the right side of the field. DeMeco Ryans being a defensive-minded coach, and Texans defense is okay. It's going to be like the bright-ish spot of that team, I think, after the season. I completely agree. He looked a lot better and composed in his first start. Sorry, I'm looking up this rushing prop for you right now. But from the way he looked and that game script of being a close game they should win in Houston, I think Richardson's going to be a home run pick this week.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with all 3 of those.
Trying to find it. Yeah, his prop's not out yet, but totally agree. Even think about Will Anderson coming off the edge, which is going to cause him to get out of the pocket and get some yards. I forgot what the designed run statistics were of last week, but it was, he had a very healthy amount of designed runs for him, which you got to love to see. And that's for me on Richardson. That's that for Goff. Simple game script. That's got to be the biggest win of theirs in like 10 years. Super Bowl champ on opening night.
Yeah.
Like the Lions have not been winning games even close to that. So that place who has sold out, I think completely sold out season tickets, is going to be fucking rocking against a Seahawks team who is just not that good. Gave up 30 points to a skeleton of a Rams offense. Goff at home, as we know, is an absolute stud. So I think he's going to just come out and sling the ball like he likes to do at home. The energy in the building is going to be outstanding. I have Laporta on my green light, and once again, I'm on Raw. Like, I just think they're going to put up points fast and look really good and beat down the Seahawks.
Yeah, and the Seahawks just allowed over 300 yards to Stafford, and that was with no Cooper Kupp.
Skeleton Rams offense.
I mean, so, and I don't remember what it is, but I'm almost positive like last year this game was in Detroit also, and it was a pretty high scoring game if I remember correctly. So I think that'll be a similar game script this year.
Absolutely. What do you got, Rye?
So my green lights, I agree with you guys. Mike, I never would have thought I would have heard you green light Anthony Richardson, but today's the day.
I still want to hit on Daniel Jones. I was talking more so on those two quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, I mean Goff. We saw what he did last week, and you're right. He plays well at home. I considered putting him on my green light list, but I left him off. I have other people on here that I like better, but. Yeah, man, Goff and Richardson. Richardson shocked me last week along with you guys. Him being able to get Pittman the ball too that much in that offense was intriguing to me as well. So, yeah, Richardson's should be a top 5 play each week. I mean, with his rushing upside, and if he can throw the ball like that, Houston should be a pretty susceptible defense to his play style. So, yeah, I agree with both of those.
I'm not ready to say top 5 play each week, but this game against a bad Houston team, I think you're going. What week 1 gave me confidence to say about Richardson was, okay, he looks better than thought against a decent team. I mean, Jags, listen, none of these teams in this division are going to have one of the top defenses, but you're going to see games where Richardson looks really good. He looked a lot better than thought. I don't even think really good. I think there's going to be some video game type, Richardson games where he's QB1 and just looks outstanding. But Texans are one of those teams he can put those types of games up on and just, exactly game script wise. Oh, here we go. Last year, Ford Field Seahawks. Lions was 48-45.
There you go. Yeah, I thought it was something big.
Sorry, I was looking that up. But yeah. So that's what Richardson did for me, is just instill a little bit of confidence of like, all right, as of right now, early on, before teams get too much film on him and start to game plan more to his style and take away the right side of the field and make him uncomfortable, like, when you're 6'6" and you can run like that, you're gonna make some things happen. And the arm was certainly a surprise that I didn't really expect to see. But yeah, tell us about DJ, Shane.
So, 2 things. What I'm looking at is just one, he is not going to run into that game script that, again, like he did Sunday night. I mean, that was just the worst case scenario for a guy like Daniel Jones when you put him in that big of a hole with a block kick return and then a pick 6 INT where Barkley got hit. When you put him in the hole and you open up the floodgates of pass rush against him, that's just not his game to come back from behind from that many. And he's obviously not going to be in that situation this week against Arizona. Arizona Sam Howell, we didn't think was very good last week, right? he still was QB8 for the week, and that was with putting up 11 rushing yards. So I think Jones, will be back to being a top 10 QB this week against him.
Yeah, I love Daniel Jones coming off that. I mean, I still think they're a good offense. I think I'm a little worried about Waller's hamstring. He's just always seems to have a nagging injury every year. But I think DJ, I also have Saquon on my green light list. I think they both bounce back against the tanking team in a really big way. They're going to be, one of my easy, cheap survivor picks this week as well. If I can get through 2 weeks with the Commanders and the Giants out the door already, that's really good in Survivor. But yeah, Daniel Jones, he's looked like he even looked great in that first drive against the Cowboys. So I'm not worried that they're going to put it together and against week 2 against a really bad tanking Cardinals team. That's going to be the time to do it.
Yeah, I have Daniel Jones on my list as well. But, you guys made pretty much all the points that I was going to make. I think he does have a bounce-back week against a defense that is bottom barrel in the NFL. And, like you said, we saw what Howell did last week, and I think Daniel Jones is a better version of Howell. And I think he's going to have a bounce-back week. I'm excited to see what Daniel Jones can do. I had him on the red light last week, obviously, with the Cowboys, but positive game script, positive matchup. Should have a lot of rushing yards in this game.
That was going to be the point that I was going to make, is that you had him on your red light. That hit swimmingly. Clearly, Truck's got his finger on the Danny Dimes pulse, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, I'll be watching that closely. But my other green light is Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy going against the Rams. I liked what I saw last week. I mean, the team looked phenomenal. Very, very excited what Purdy can do this week. I think Kittle, I have Kittle on my green light list as well. I think Kittle has a better week. I would put Ayuk on there, but you guys should already be starting Ayuk. Okay. I'm not going to be putting him on my green light list every week, but Brock Purdy, full steam ahead with the San Francisco team. I can't wait to see what he can do against the Rams this week.
The Rams defense somehow shut down the Seahawks, so that was a surprise. I think the Niners are going to be a buzzsaw. I don't know what to think about this game quite yet. I think it might be closer than we expect. I think the Rams defense might be better than we thought. So I don't know. I'm probably kind of just sit back and see. I actually have Kittle on my red light list, Ryan. So we'll talk about that one.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out.
But yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts there, Shane? I don't have much to add.
No, I think I look at him as like one of the safest starts, like in Superflex or 2 QB leagues. I mean, I think, most weeks you're getting 200 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, totally agree there. So I think I've hit on all my quarterbacks. Are we all good there?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Ryan, why don't you get us started with red light running backs?
Red light running backs. First one, Najee Harris. We saw what Pittsburgh, they couldn't run the ball against San Francisco, and I think it's going to be a very similar story against Cleveland. We saw what Cleveland did last week to Cincinnati and just kind of put the brakes on that team. So I'm not confident in Najee Harris. If I have a better option, I'm going to be starting them over Najee. I think you're going to see they're going to try to work in Jaylen Warren more too. So I'm staying away from Najee. I didn't see anything that would give me confidence for this week.
Yeah, we're crossing swords again here. I have Najee as well. And it's not so much like anti-Najee as much as it is pro Browns defensive line.
Yeah, it's a mixture of both for me.
I think it's the best defensive line in the NFL, to be honest, which is saying a lot because there's some pretty damn good lines, but they're in, Myles Garrett. He was my was he my defensive player of the year? I'm pretty sure he was.
Yeah.
If he's not, I actually did. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I've been on Garrett defensive player of the year for quite a while. I just think he's due to win that award. He's just an absolute beast. And he's going to be a big reason why that team is, going to start 2-0 against two division opponents, but they're going to be in that divisional race, if not have a very good chance to win the division this year. So yeah, I'm staying away from that Pittsburgh backfield until I see something that I like, but especially against what I think is going to be the best defensive line in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Shane, what do you got for red light running backs?
So my first one is I'm going with a guy who got 22 carries last week. I mean, that's pretty nice. I mean, you get 22 carries. That's a good workload, but you only get 29 yards. And I'm not really good at math. I didn't think there was supposed to be like math in fantasy football, but that's like, I don't know, maybe 1 point something yards a carry. So that's ugly. Williams looked much better in that game. I mean, I think he went 15 for 52 and had the 2 touchdowns. So there's that component. And then, just the opponent. They're facing the 49ers, who's going to be – I mean, that's going to be one of the tougher run defenses to go against all throughout the year. So, it's you look at the amount of rushes he's got, but I think we're going to start to see a little bit a shift of more sharing of those rushing attempts going forward.
Well, I think it was like I think Kyren Williams. It was something crazy like 26-4 snaps in the first half. So it was something, I don't remember what the actual snap count was between those two in the first half last week, but it was something egregious. I was actually very high. Kyren Williams was my number one pickup this week for waivers. But I'm sitting both of those guys for the reason of playing the 49ers and letting them figure out that backfield. That being said, I think it's Kyren Williams' backfield, which sucks because I was pretty high on Akers, have him on a couple teams. I don't know. Like I think I'm ready to accept that that's probably going to be Kyren Williams' backfield, and that's why I was so high on him to be, my number one waiver and targeted him as much as I could. But yeah, it's for me against the Niners, staying away from both of them, letting them figure that out.
Yeah, we all have the Rams running backs on our list. I mean, Cam Akers, from what we saw last week, you can't start him. You just can't, especially against the San Francisco.
You had Akers as well.
I do. Yeah, he's on this as well.
Yeah, I don't.
It's hard not to pick him in a red light segment where it's like, dude, if everything we saw last week, his yards per carry, the usage of that backup running back who now should be taking that workload from him, I don't know, it's just Sean McVay just not like Cam Akers. Like, I don't know what it is about the situation, but it's all murky, and I just it's unfortunate because I'm with Mike. I was very high on Akers coming into this year, and that's a take that L, but. Definitely.
I mean,
definitely
maybe again, it's just 1 week. It just doesn't look good.
No, I mean the 22 carries is the only bright spot. Him touching the ball that many times, but what he did with it was just horrendous.
But to my knowledge, that was not first half carries. I'll have to go back and look, but I read something. I guess you can't believe everything you read, but I read something that first half snap count was like disgusting in Kyren Williams' favor, and I think that was a big reason why I was, all over him. But I mentioned Alexander Madison, have him on my red light list.
Me too.
Yeah, I never liked him, and I have two guys. Let me bunch these guys together. I have two guys who I've been very vocal about not liking, and one in Alexander Madison was just dog shit last week, which I was very happy to see. Another one is Brian Robinson, who from a fantasy production standpoint had a okay week on a Commanders team that, didn't necessarily shine against a really bad team. But I just didn't think Robinson, again, like, he's going to be the back that they continue to try to make their like franchise running back, but I just don't think he's that kind of a talent. So, going into a very tough Denver environment, Mile High is a tough place for, altitude wise to just stay on the field and be a workhorse, all game, but especially against this Denver Broncos team whose defense is just going to be keeping them in games all year. I don't like that game for the Commanders as a whole, but certainly Brian Robinson as well.
Yeah, I wish they would stop fucking around and just give the ball to Antonio Gibson. All right, he's the better running back. Just stop fooling around. Like, just
he didn't do shit either. He didn't
get enough workload. He didn't get.
I don't know that Antonio Gibson is like good enough to take away from.
He got 3 rushes.
Yeah, if you give Gibson the carries that Brian Robinson had, he would have had a better game. He's a better running back. That's just, I will stand by that.
Most likely, I agree with you. But at the same time, it's not like he's this young, promising prospect who, like, they have no reason to give it to him over Robinson. Robinson's the younger guy, the guy that they, believe in. So they're going to give him a long leash, unfortunately, and it's going to be frustrating for Gibson owners. That's the reality of the situation,
Yeah. Shane, do you have any other red light running backs? We covered all of mine.
The only other one I had was Khalil Herbert. So
did you say Lil Herbert?
Lil Herbert.
I love that Lil Herbert.
Lil Herbert.
I'm putting that on your graphic.
I love that.
A couple of things. So, they're playing the Bucs. So the Bucs, now maybe this is more of an indictment on Alexander Madison, but they held Madison to a very low game. But you know what I didn't like seeing, going in, Herbert, I thought into week 1 had established himself as the number 1 guy there. But, Roschon got 5 or 6 carries and the touchdown. And then we saw Foreman get 5 or 6 carries too. And I don't know. I just think now I'm thinking maybe we may start to see a takeover of this backfield eventually, of Roschon being the guy at some point in time. And so I just don't like the matchup this week if you have to start him.
Yeah, I'm here for that, man. Roschon all day. He was the one shining thing for me on Sunday. Was a little bit of that Roschon late. So I love that. Yeah. Let's go green light. Go ahead.
I'm gonna talk about Herbert. So I agree with the matchup. However, I think he is the starting running back. So how that split kind of worked out, if you look at the touch chart on in the Chicago running back room, it was Lil Herbert had all the carries in the beginning of the game. Roschon got staggered, like he would take an entire drive. So it was like 1A and then change of pace back Herbert, and really Roschon didn't get that type of work until the end of the game when things were kind of out of hand. That being said, he was the most energetic, he was that spark plug back, and he showed that talent. So over the course of the year, yeah, I would agree that he'll chip into that, but it's not going to happen really anytime soon. I mean, it's going to be a few games. And I think that only comes if Herbert shows that he just is not good. So from a matchup standpoint, definitely agree. But this week, I don't think you're going to see Roschon chip into too much production, or at least production opportunity wise. But yeah, it was interesting to see that touch chart of how that unfolded. And of course, I feel like in the fourth quarter, Roschon looked like the only person still trying for the Bears. Rise, wide receivers.
Green light running backs.
Well, I have Saquon. I talked about him. And then I'll bunch together Bijan and Gibbs. I have them in the green light column because of how they looked and how productive they were with their carries. And I think that their roles will increase over time. I think they're both going to be in competitive, high-ish scoring games. Maybe not as much the Falcons, but the Falcons are going to be in a highly competitive game. So I think Bijan, anytime there's a highly competitive game, he's going to be involved heavily. Algier, a lot of his carries came in that second half when they were in the fourth quarter when they were up. So from a game script standpoint, I think Bijan's more involved. And then from just showcasing your new guy at home, I'm sure Detroit radio is talking about his usage in game one. I could see Campbell coming out and unleashing Gibbs a little bit. So I don't know. What do you guys think there?
Yeah, I mean, I like that. Gibbs, I think we're going to see a bigger workload this week, but how much of an increase we're going to see, that's the only thing I'm questioning. But from the touches we saw, he looked really good. So I completely understand him being a green light, especially with the way that I think Detroit's going to perform this week. And Bijan, I mean, Bijan looks great, man. He looks really, really good. So I like that. Shane, I don't know. Did you want to add anything on there before we move on?
No.
You're good?
Yeah.
I have Rashad White going against Chicago. Chicago's defense looked abysmal. And I think Rashad White looked really good last week. I think that he's going to run all over this defense, and he's going to be a start for me.
Yeah, I have him as well on my list. I agree.
Yeah, well, he got last week an insane amount of usage and touches. I mean, he is the main guy in that backfield. He didn't do much with it last week, but I mean, when you're getting that much, he's going to have good fantasy days.
Oh yeah,
yeah. The amount of usage, and then with how bad the Bears' defense is that was why I threw him on my green light list as well. So that was kind of a no-brainer.
And then I have a couple other guys. Dameon Pierce, I think he's going to bounce back this week. I know his usage, his workload wasn't as large as some people would have thought, but going against Indianapolis, I think Dameon Pierce has a bounce back week. There's not much really that other than like a gut feeling that I just think Pierce is going to surprise people this week. If you think that he's just going to be limited to a kind of a timeshare with Devin Singletary. So I like Pierce this week against Indianapolis, but I wanted to talk about James Cook with Buffalo. We saw him get like 90% of the carries last week. Damian Harris got 1 carry, and James Cook also had 6 targets out of the backfield. Like that's so good to see coming out of a tough defense with the Jets. I know he didn't do much with the workload, but I think this week that's going to change, and I think James Cook is going to have a big game.
I'll co-sign Cook. I don't know how I feel about Pierce. I'm kind of just staying away from that offense, really. It was good to see the amount of targets that Collins and Woods got. I think they're talking about Tank Dell getting worked into the offense more, but
yeah, I saw that.
I just think it's going to be, I don't know. I'm going to stay away from the Texans a little bit for now until I see them, I guess, win a game.
Yeah.
Put up some points. The only other guy I had on mine was Mr. DeAndre Swift. Has Gainwell been ruled out yet?
Not officially, but he's
going to be out. Yeah,
he's doubtful right now.
Yeah, he'll be out.
Gainwell's going to be out, and like, I think whether he was in and this was going to be a Swift game for me, regardless. I think the Eagles are going to be doing one of those just I think figuring it out as they go throughout the season. I don't think there's a huge difference than if Gainwell or if Swift gets those touches from last week. Like, they're going to be giving games to different guys, and I think Swift, this is his game against the Vikings. Bad defense at home with that. He's back home in Philly. I think it's like the DeAndre Swift coming home party, and Eagles are going to dominate that game. Swift is a better running talent than Gainwell. I think he's just going to just absolutely ball out tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. I mean, with Kenneth Gainwell sitting out, this could bode really well for Swift and his workload moving forward too. If he comes out and has a monstrosity of a game, they're going to be giving him the ball a lot more than they would have been if Gainwell played and got the majority of the share there. So yeah, I like that move for Swift and for him moving forward.
He's a Philly guy, man.
Yeah,
Philly,
I know.
Philly.
I know. He's a Philly guy.
Philly takes care of their guys. Like, he's gonna have 2 touchdowns and 150 yards, and then they're gonna be up by 3 touchdowns going into halftime, and Boston Scott is just gonna shove it down their fucking throat the rest of the game.
Okay. 150 and 2 touchdowns. Heard it here first by Kulz.
Shane, what do you got?
All right, so my 2 guys, let's just go ahead and we're going to make a threesome with James Cook because I'm on him too. I mean, we elite top running back usage last week, like you mentioned. And then my other guy is Ramondre Stevenson. So a couple things. One, he came into that game last week battling this stomach virus. So I don't think he was quite at 100%. Like, he missed Friday practice with it. Eagles is a really tough run defense up front, but he still got like over 70% of the snaps, elite receiving usage, 6 catches, which really helped his PPR floor. And then I'm just looking at the opponent. So, facing a team that just gave up 200 plus yards rushing and 3 touchdowns in Miami, I think that he bounces back in a big way this week.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, Stevenson, he looked like the better running back too. His involvement in the passing game, and I like that. I was shocked to see how much they actually did utilize Zeke. He got some targets too, and he got some carries, and I'm curious to see how that all develops moving forward. But I like the Stevenson play this week.
Yeah, if you're a Stevenson owner and you see that Zeke fumble, knowing Belichick, you're like, oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very good point.
Send out some buy low offers for Stevenson. After that last week game, you might be able to get him.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
I agree.
All right, let's move on to wide receivers, huh? How about it?
Yeah, I have to match up with Howell. I have Terry McLaurin. It just seemed like, I don't know if it was his toe injury or he could just never really get going. And I think in a really tough environment in Mile High, Patrick Surtain, you saw kind of what he did to Devontae Adams last week. I have Devontae Adams on my list again, going up to Buffalo. I just think it's going to be back-to-back bad games for him. So I have those 2 on my list. I wanted to go with 2 guys who you probably put some pretty good draft capital into that are just going to have slow starts this season. I'm not worried about Devontae Adams from a season standpoint. That even might be a good time to buy him low. You can try to start planting the seed this week by, tapping at that owner, whoever in your league, and say like, man, what happened to Devonta week 1? And then have him underperform again this week and then go back and see what you can get for him. But I would plant that seed because I just think Jimmy G is a competent passer. It's just a really bad start being away at Denver and then going to Buffalo. So McLaurin, Devonta, they're my red lights.
Yeah, I like that. I got McLaurin as well. Devonta makes a lot of sense. Like, I don't know, man. Devontae Adams is such a good wide receiver. And last week, I mean, Jacoby Myers, my best friend, Jacoby Myers.
He is your best friend.
How about that game? Man, came out swinging. So, yeah, I get that. Totally get that. I had McLaurin, but I also have DJ Moore to go with my Chicago Bears stuff. With DJ Moore only getting the 3 targets last week, that was very concerning. We got to see him opening up this offense. I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I'm worried about DJ Moore as well. And I wish I would have saw a little bit more last week to give me a little bit more confidence in them this week. But yeah, I'm just nervous. Nelly over here.
I had Scary Terry also, so we're another sweep on that one.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. So I mean, you saw like Dotson had more targets than him. Logan Thomas raised up from the dead and had 8 targets last week. I mean, and then Curtis Samuel had the most yards on the team. I mean, so he's an avoid. And then my number one guy, I'm going back to the well on it. I don't care. Drake London, he ran 20 routes and got 1 target, and I don't know. I don't think things get better this week. I mean, so he faces the Packers. He's probably going to get that Alexander shadow coverage, which we just saw is not a great thing. So I'm going back to the well on him, and he's an avoid.
That's a great move. Great move, Shane. I didn't have him on my list, and looking back on it now, I should have definitely had him on my list because I completely agree with you. Being on the field 90% of the snaps and then getting that 1 target, that's alarming, very alarming. So yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's nothing else to say. It's going to be tough for Pitts and London owners as well as they're, as long as they're running the ball the way they are and they're able to get ahead in the game and then just kind of trust their defense and run it down, beat up. I just think from a game script standpoint, from what Falcons are going to be trying to do, it's going to be a bad start to the season for London. As you were talking, Kenneth Gainwell ruled out.
Yep.
Yeah, saw that come through. All right, I think we're covered on red light wide receivers. We could jump to green lights. You guys all good here?
Yep.
Okay. Green light wide receiver. I have a couple here. Nico Collins. I mean, we saw what he did last week, and I think that continues this week against Indianapolis. He just looks like the best wide receiver on the field, and I'd be excited to start him this week. I'm going to find ways to plug him in my lineup.
I don't have much else to add on Nico. Shane,
No.
you got it? You got anything there?
No, I think he's the number 1 target on that team. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we were as high as we were, Ryan, on Nico Collins. I know our underdog exposure is heavy, and that.
Oh yeah, we were drafting him early too, and like late, like almost even the last round of underdog drafts early. So yeah, I feel great about that.
Yeah, well, who do you got, Shane O'Mac? You got any shockers for us?
The Shane O'Mac shockers.
I don't know. I don't know if it's a shocker, but I'm going to greenlight DeAndre Hopkins this week. So I was not a Hopkins guy going into the year, but I did like what I saw last week. So he was 3rd in the NFL in targets from wide receivers. And I think he ended up as wide receiver like 25, and that wasn't a low-scoring game against the Saints. So now this week he faces the Chargers, who last year gave up the most fantasy points to all wide receivers. Should be a high-scoring game. Should see a lot of pass attempts on Tennessee side. So he gets peppered with targets. I think he's a guy now that probably sneaks up definitely into that top 15 and maybe even top 10 finish.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I do as well. I definitely took a look at him. as I was going through my list. I have from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So, I know Ryan's going to feel really good about this one and totally agree because he's been quite vocal about it, how he feels about the Bears this episode. But yeah, that defense is trash. I think Chris Godwin is gonna be all over the field, and I think you saw Evans get in the end zone last week. I think you're going to Godwin get in the end zone this week. I could see him having an 8 for 105 and a touchdown type of game. So I'm starting Godwin if I have him. These are the kind of games that at home that you just want to be a Godwin owner in my mind. So, Chris Godwin.
Yeah, I completely agree there, Mike. Completely agree.
I got Gabe Davis as well. I'll add him. So I just think that Josh Allen and the Bills, as I've said this whole episode, are going to come out and have an awesome game. I kind of realizing I'm pretty big Bills, just like Stan. So I don't want to say this is bias, but I just think Josh Allen is, all you're hearing about in sports media this week is, is Josh Allen overrated? Have we given him too much praise? Is this turnover thing like a serious issue? And yeah, it is. He turns the ball over a lot. He always has. He also scores the most touchdowns. So, he needs to clean that up. I think that's a little bit of coaching. He should have developed and kind of, for me, it's not even the turnovers, like him running and jumping and taking a big hit in the middle in the air for no fucking reason. It's like that. Those are the types of bonehead decisions that you got to clean up. But
yeah,
I like the year that Gabe Davis is going to have. And I think, you're going to see the offense open up a little bit. And listen, the Jets defense was designed to beat the Bills. That's literally what the Jets defense was designed for. A disruptive offensive line that gets to Allen and makes him make those types of throws. So that's literally what that's what the Jets did when they organized and put together that defense. So, I expect a Raiders team to come in and get beat up bad. Gabe Davis benefits from that.
Make a note here, Ryan. This is maybe where you need to go do a edit because I just saw DeAndre Hopkins miss practice with an ankle issue. So
okay.
Rewind.
Yeah. All right.
Sub in. No, we'll see what it is. It could be his typical rest day miss, or it could be something, legitimate.
Did he miss any time that game? I didn't.
Right.
I didn't. That kind of catches me out of nowhere because I almost put him on my list as well.
No, it did. He didn't miss any time in that game. So yeah, I don't know what it is. We'll just have to check and see.
Yeah, we'll keep a close eye on that one. But Mike, I agree with you, man. Gabe Davis, I feel like any week he can go out there and have 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's that type of player that just can break free. We saw him do it time and time again in years past. He's just kind of like that X factor that could go off at any moment. So, I totally get that. And I heard an alarming stat about the Josh Allen turnovers. Since 2018, he's had over 50 fumbles. Since 2018, over 50 fumbles. That's a lot. So hopefully he can correct those turnovers from last week, and I think he will.
Also, turning back the clock, Nico Collins, he is our most owned wide receiver in Underdog at 30,
is he really
32.5%. I think we basically owned him in every single league until his ADP kind of corrected and rose towards the beginning of the season. But yeah, we were just peppering Nico. But anyways, let's get back on track. Those are my green lights. So you guys take it away and I'll give my 2 cents. But those are
Shane, did you have any other green lights you want to add before I jump in?
Yeah, just real quick. So I like in that same game, I like Keenan Allen. I like that he got, I think it was 9 or 10 targets. Titans gave up second most points to fantasy receivers last year. They just gave up 2 big wide receiver games last week in New Orleans. I mean, Shaheed went for, I think it was 5 and 90 and a touchdown, and Chris Olave had over 100 yards. So I think they're set up to probably. I went back and forth on Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, but I'm going Keenan just because of the little uncertainty with Mike leaving that game and was checked out, I think, from a head injury, and he came back in, but still a little bit worrisome. So, and then the last one, I think everyone's going to start him, but if you're not, put him in every week, automatic starter, Zay Flowers. The usage is just ridiculous. I mean, he had like 45% target share. Played most all the snaps. He is even got 2 rushes in that game. I mean, he's the number 1 alpha receiver for sure.
Yeah, I love that.
I want to say about Zay real quick. So, when someone might say to you is like, oh, well, how's that's going to change when Mark Andrews comes back? He likes to hyper target Andrews too, but with JK going down, I think you're just going to see more Dobbins getting more creative and see the ball in his hands.
You mean Flowers?
Say what?
Yeah, you said you're going to see more Dobbins.
No, I said with Dobbins going down, you're going to see more of them along the line of scrimmage, screen passes, just getting creative. So, what I was saying is adding Andrews to the mix, you think would take away from his targets, but taking away Dobbins is, I think that's that's just going to be net neutral. So that's my thought process there.
Yeah, I love that, and I have another Zay. I in deeper formats and flex consideration, Zay Jones, from what we saw last week, was intriguing, and then them going against Kansas City this week. Trevor Lawrence is going to need to put up a lot of points to keep up with Kansas City. Kelsey's probably going to be back, so that offense is going to be humming, trying to be on a revenge path from last week. And I think you're going to see a sneaky big game out of Zay Jones, based on from what we saw last week. So in deeper formats.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm a little worried for Christian Kirk. I don't know what else to say there. I think he'll still have a decent year, but not nearly what I was anticipating. Same
here. All right. Well, how about tight ends? The ragtag group of tight ends. Who do you guys have? Shane, let's start with you. Who do you got for your your red light tight end?
So red light is I had him as a play last week, and he had a pretty decent game, but I am avoiding Tyler Higbee at all costs. 49ers just held Freiermuth to 1 catch on Sunday. I expect a pretty limited production from him against that defense.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree with that. And in connection with that, I'm putting a red light on Freiermuth. I mean, his 1 catch last week going against the stout defense of the Cleveland. I don't have any confidence in Freiermuth this week. If I have other options, I'm going elsewhere.
Yeah, so I have Kittle in that same game as Higbee. I don't think Kittle's going to have a very high productive fantasy year. I think he's going to be a huge integral piece to the Niners, but just the way that Ayuk is performing, the way that Kittle's an essential, he's 30 years old and he is an essential part of that offense in their blocking scheme. So I just don't think you're going to be able to see him produce how he does on offense and then still maintain his main blocking role. I just think with how good Ayuk is, that offense is going to start to just pour more targets into him, into Debo, into CMC, and kind of use – I just think Kittle's role is changing within the offense. It's simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm on the other side with Kittle. There's a little sneak peek. I have him on my green light list. I just think Kittle has a big game this week. We saw what Kittle did with Brock Purdy last year. Yeah, Ayuk is ascending in this offense, and he's going to be their focal point in the passing game. And Debo looks a lot better than he did last year. But I think Kittle is a sneaky good play this week against the Rams. So going head-to-head against Mike there, we'll see who's right on that one. But another tight end I have on my red light list is Kyle Pitts. I mean, I just, along with the Drake London take, I have no confidence in Pitts going this year or going this week in Green Bay. Was very concerning from what I saw on the field last week. And this Atlanta team loves to run the ball. Artie Smith is just he's got a great run scheme, and that's what they lean on. So I am trying to avoid starting Pitts at all costs.
If Kittle. What kind of yards can we put up on here? What kind of a bet can we have? I want you to wear a cheese head for next week's episode. I
won't be doing that.
We can't put together a pod bet that you wear a cheese head if he doesn't have
not a chance.
All right, it was worth a try. Yeah, like you said about London, I'm worried about Pitts. There's nothing else to say there.
Mike, you got anybody else on your red light tight ends?
Not worth talking about. I just put Hawkinson on there to go along with the Vikings fade.
Yeah, fair enough. What about Dallas Goedert too? I want to mention him. I mean, the guy just put up a goose egg last week, and I'm just concerned. I know against Minnesota's passing game, I could be wrong about this, but I'm a little worried about Goddard going into this week from what we saw last week.
Let's see, I'm on the other side. He was one of my green lights. I think two things. One, greasy wheel, treatment this week. Coach already come out and said that they've got to get him more involved. He's one of the guys they need to get more involved. I like what he did last year. I looked up and saw he went 5 for 82 last year against the Vikings. I could see something similar to that, this week.
Yeah, I agree. He's on my green light list. I think positive regression for him. He's gonna, he's someone that we know his role in the offense, and it's not going to change. And they're going to look to get him going pretty early and often in this game.
All right, who else do you guys have on your green light list?
So I am. I love me some of the rookie tight ends. I mean, come at me, rookie tight end haters. Come at me.
My list is full of rookie tight ends.
Come at me. I love Sam Laporta this week. So
same.
I mean, you might forgot about what he did versus Kansas City, but it was. I think he had 8 or 9 PPR points, but he was second on the team in catches. He played 85% of the snaps. Seahawks allowed the most points to fantasy tight ends last year, and Tyler Higbee was just the tight end 8 last week against him.
Yeah, I have Laporta. I think he looked – it's not even the amount that he got targeted. It's how he looked catching the ball. He had some outstanding catches for a tight end. So, just gaining that trust from Goff that early, he's going to have such a huge role in the pass. I mean, look at the way that Marvin Jones should have had a massive game, and he had some bad drops. And then you see Laporta in traffic making great grabs with his hands from a tight end, from a rookie tight end in his first ever NFL game. Goff is a veteran quarterback who remembers those things on the field. So we saw what that role for Hawkinson was in that offense. Laporta is just looking so good there. I love Laporta as well. I mean, I saw someone, you always got to look at on waiver day who's picking up who, but also who's dropping who. Someone dropped Laporta, and I mean, come on, I don't care who my tight end is there. I'm adding him right now, So.
Yeah. Yeah, we're a trio here again. I got Laporta on my list as well. It's hard not to have him on this list from what we saw last week. Very intriguing going against that Seattle defense. I think Sam Laporta has a big game. Also, Dalton Kincaid. I know, Mike, is Kincaid on your list as well?
He is, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not shocked. Yeah, I mean Kincaid, he looked somewhat good too. I'm really liking what I see from these rookie tight ends. And usually you don't see that from rookie tight ends, but I think this class is a little different, and very happy with them. And then also a little caveat I would like to mention: Hayden Hurst too. Hayden Hurst being the number one target for Bryce Young and Carolina going against New Orleans. I think Hayden Hurst could have another big game this week with another touchdown. Quite a bit of yards and some receptions. But I like Hayden Hurst this week as well.
Yeah, he was tight end 2 last week. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, he's the tight end 2 on the season, right?
Yeah.
Tight end 2 on the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see Kelsey and Andrews back. The two big dogs. So I think they'll both be back this week, and I think they're going to step into their tight end 1 and 2 roles that they just have dominated over the past handful of seasons. So
yeah, they're going to make you feel comfortable for drafting them in the first couple rounds.
Yeah. I definitely, it sucked not having Andrews that week 1 after putting a tight end or a third round draft capital in on him. But I mean, come on, he should step in and help out that offense right away. I think the Ravens are going to just continue to get better every week. So that is it for me. Did everyone get through the list? Are we all good?
Yep.
Yeah, I've talked about everybody I want to talk about.
All right, Shane, why don't you hammer through, give us a recap, and we'll all go through our lists and go from there.
All right, so the green quarterbacks I had was Daniel Jones, Goff, Richardson. Red was Tua and Cousins. Green running backs was Stevenson, James Cook. Red was Akers and Little Herbert.
Lil.
Little Herbert. Wide receiver greens was Keenan Allen. Asterisk DeAndre Hopkins, maybe to be replaced with Zay Flowers. Check your bottom for injury notes. Wide receiver red, Drake London and Scary Terry McLaurin. And then tight end greens was Laporta and Dallas Goedert. And tight end reds was Higbee. And I agree with Pitts.
Can you specify which one was the Shane Mack shocker of the week?
The Shane Mack shocker of the week is Tua Tagovailoa.
All right, thank you.
I love it.
Right, what do you got, Rye?
My red light quarterbacks are Dak Prescott against the Jets, Justin Fields against Tampa. Green light quarterbacks, Daniel Jones this week is a green light with Brock Purdy going against the Rams. Red light running backs, Najee Harris and Cam Akers, stay away. Green light running backs, give me James Cook and Rashad White. Wide receivers, red light, Terry McLaurin and DJ Moore. Green light, give me Zay Jones and Nico Collins in deeper formats. Love them in the flex this week. Tight ends, red light, Pat Freiermuth and Kyle Pitts, stay away. And green light, those rookie tight ends with Sam Laporta, Kincaid, but also throwing a little George Kittle. That's my red light, green light for the week.
There you go. I have my red lights, Jimmy G, Sam Howell, running back, Brian Robinson, Alexander Madison, Najee Harris, wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, Devontae Adam, and tight end, Kittle. I guess Hawkinson, but more so Kittle. Green lights, quarterback, Goff, Anthony Richardson, Danny Dimes, Saquon Barkley, the Bijan Gibbs rookie running back combo, DeAndre Swift, Rashad White, Gabe Davis, Godwin at wide receiver, Dallas Goedert, and the rookie tight ends combo of Kincaid and Laporta.
All right. Well, that about does it for our red light, green light segment for week 2. We hope you guys enjoyed the content, and we appreciate you for tuning in. Stay tuned for the rest of the week. We got a weekly pick'em where Mike and I will go through the slate for this week and talk about the results in our pick'em league from last week. So stay tuned for that. And above all, Shane, what should we do?
Hey, Scott Hansen, buckle up.